Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Well, I want to welcome my next guest, Keandra Jackson, to the show. Come on down. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am doing phenomenal, especially we're talking about love.
Absolutely. That's my favorite thing to talk about.
You are a therapist for marriage and relationships. And so being in that field, during this time of love, what do that mean to you to see marriages kind of not making it during this time?
You know what? It depends on your perspective. There's a lot of people who are still married and who value marriage, but there is a whole new group of us, especially us millennials, who place a different value on marriages, and we're waiting longer to get married, and we're probably not getting married at all at this point because we're more open to either just living with your partner and having kids and not necessarily having that full commitment.
Wow. So I wonder why people choose that area. I mean, I know you say the millennials and things are different because I do know here in California, I see a lot of people who have had multiple marriages, you know, married, divorced. So what keeps them staying in that relationship versus saying, you know what, just forget it?
Yeah. So the desire to be married is super important. Like, you have to want to be married. Marriage is so much work. So if you go into it thinking it's a cakewalk, thinking that, you know, this is a breeze, I got this, I don't have to put in any work, it's probably going to fail, truth to be told. So you have to have that desire. You have to want to be in it, both you and your partner. So you can't be in a relationship or married to somebody who don't want to put in as much work as you do as well.
So technically it's 100-100. It's not 50-50.
Oh, that is such a lie. That 50-50 thing, oh, no. Let's scratch that.
Okay.
100 and 100. Both parties need to put in 110% actually to make sure that it works, because we live in a time where there's so many different factors on the outside that could try to chip away at your marriage, and you need to make sure that the unit is solid at home, in the bedroom, in the finances, with the kids, with all types of different issues. So yeah. Because
it causes all those things you just named, causes people to really give up on the marriage. And I mean, during Valentine's times, people lack intimacy in that marriage. So how can they actually gain that back during this time of Valentine? I mean, this is the season of love.
Yeah, it is the season of love. And the funny thing about that, people don't realize that divorces and breakups actually spike and increase around Valentine's Day, and they reach an all-time high in the month of March. So just in case people didn't know.
Oh my God, really?
I'm very serious.
Is it because they don't want to be alone? Do you think that's what it is?
There's a level of them not wanting to be alone, but I also think too that people just didn't want to be in a relationship to begin with. And so around that time of Valentine's Day, there's so much pressure. Oh, you got to plan a date. You got to get these roses. And you know, everything is more expensive around that time frame. And you got to meet my family and all of these things. So you have to take all of that into consideration.
So, you know, when they come together and they settle in marriage and have this family, do you recommend them getting counseling when they see the marriage is starting to diminish?
That's a really good question, Melody. So I would say get counseling way before that. So what people don't realize is that statistics show that married couples, come to counseling 7 years too late.
Really?
7 years too late. So that means they were supposed to be in counseling the whole 7 years ago, and they just now making it. So when you come to someone like me 7 years late, you have all of these layers, all of this baggage, all of the stuff that you've been holding on to and sweeping it up under the rug, and then you expect us as therapists to work magic.
That's true. Like, okay, how much time we can work this out?
Exactly. And people want a quick fix, but when you've been holding on to something for 7+ years, it's not an overnight fix at all. So I encourage people to go to premarital counseling right when they get engaged, but I've also even had some couples come see me before they even got engaged, when they just in a relationship and they see it going steady.
Oh, wow. You know, one of the things I think about is the fact that when you are in a relationship with someone, and, you know, as I was talking to the other guests, and how the sex tend to diminish, and that person steps out of the relationship. And then whether it's the male or the female, they can't get it out of their mind. So how do you get those negative thoughts out of your mind so that you can have a, you know, flourishing marriage?
I don't think you can ever get it out of your mind completely, to be honest with you. But if you value that marriage and you really love that person, you'll be willing to put in as much work as necessary. But they have to be willing to put in the work too. Meaning they have to correct their wrongs. They have to become trustworthy again, because there was broken trust, let's be honest, you know? And you don't want to continue to allow the person to kind of do the same things over and over again to you. So that's one of the things that I would say.
That's crazy because, you know, I've seen people and actually been in that type of relationship myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I was hurt. I am no longer finna, you know, put myself in that situation.
Yeah.
So how do a person get out of that frame of mind to say, you know what, marriage is good for me? You know, yes, this happened. I've been divorced, but I want to be married. So how do they get out of that frame of mind?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful question. You have to learn to separate the two. So you have to learn that you're still valuable, you're still lovable. No matter what the previous person has done to you, that doesn't diminish the value that you carry within yourself. And you have the capacity to attract another amazing mate who's going to treat you way better than the previous person. So you have to stand firm. Like, if you believe in love and you believe that it can truly happen to you, it will happen to you, because what you're putting out, you will attract.
Wow. I mean, that's deep, dog.
That's why we have to do work on ourselves.
Because you have to love, it starts with
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
And I've noticed that, you know, a lot of times people, as I was talking to the previous guest, not knowing who you are, technically you can't know what mate to have.
At all.
That's amazing.
That is huge. People don't even know who they are individually. So can you imagine getting into a marriage or a relationship with someone who does not have a clue of who they are?
Oh my God. You guys, make sure that you stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break because that's getting a little deep. We'll be right back. Welcome back, you guys. Oh my God, so before we went to that break, we was talking about people not knowing who they are and attracting people that don't know who they are as well. I believe maybe that's why they end up in a divorce.
Probably so. Like I was mentioning before the break, think about what it would be like to be in a marriage or a relationship with someone who does not know who they are. So if they don't know who they are, it's almost like a teenager, or, you know, when you're in your early 20s and you're trying to find who you are, you shift, you change, you switch careers. You don't know what you want to do. Do you want to go to college or not? So being in a relationship with someone or a marriage with someone, they will be very similar to that. They're switching, they're changing because they're not solid and grounded on who they are. And most of the time, they need to do some internal searching, some internal work, meaning healing from your past, self-love, building up your self-esteem, just working on basic stuff like communication skills, you know?
Because that means a lot.
Huge, you know?
And you know, one of the things you said was about the changing, because in a relationship, you know, you might have started out clubbing when you got married, but as you grew, you changed. So how do a person grow with that person if they're moving from one person, one particular way to another way of maturity, and they're still immature to keep the relationship going? Yeah,
that's a huge one, because relationships go through seasons. The hot and spicy and your heart skipping a beat and the flutters in your stomach when you first meet somebody, that's when it's to dwindle out a little bit and reality hits, right? That honeymoon stage of the relationship goes away oftentimes. And so if you're in a position where there's a difference in maturity level, you need to have open communication where you're talking with your partner about, you seem like this is an area where you may need to grow in a little bit, or I might be on a higher level than you are in this area. Let's talk about that and see what we can do. And it's not about, I guess you can say, bashing each other, or because you're on the same team, but it's about pulling that other person up to where you're at and growing them. You know what I mean?
Because a lot of people find the way to just escape it. But like, you know what? This is not working. Let me just leave. And so during Valentine's Day, I mean, first of all, when you say you chose this career, whether the career actually chose you, I mean, personally, what did that affect your life, your relationships? How did it make you look at your own personal self and say, you know what? yeah, I want to get married one day, or no, I don't want to marry. I think I just want to help other people.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting that you mentioned that, because even though I'm helping all of these couples, right, I'm actually single. I'm dating right now, so I'm not currently married. And that desire has always been, it is amazing. And that desire has always been on the inside of me, because I didn't see that growing up in my home. I didn't know what a healthy relationship looked like. I saw domestic violence and verbal abuse and physical abuse with my parents. And that was what fueled me, because I said, you know what, it's not supposed to be this way. And no one ever stopped to say, this isn't okay. Let me teach you the right way to be a wife, to be a husband, how to make sure your family stays together. So I made it my personal mission to make sure I did that for other families.
Wow. So technically it's teaching a person, because if they gain that knowledge of how to be a wife, how to be a husband, then that really makes the relationship successful.
And think about it, it's generational.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Because what you see, that's what you get.
Exactly.
You're thinking that way.
Exactly. So if you've seen your mom growing up being a healthy wife and knowing what to do and making sure she's handling her household, and seeing your dad be a really great father figure, that's what you're going to pick up on. And you're going to pick up those skills and pass that down to your kids. And they're then, you know, moving forward. So it's generational. So we have the power to shift generations when we focus on having healthy relationships and healthy families.
And, you know, one other thing I think about is the fact that when people are in those relationships and finding themselves and then wanting to share their relationship, and they have kids, right? And how the kids really take the time away from mom and dad. How do they actually like transition? Because that's a transition all by itself.
It's a huge transition, but people have to understand that there's different roles. Your role as a spouse is completely different than your role as a mother. And I know I had read something in Ebony more recently with Aisha Curry saying that she puts her marriage first before the kids. And there was a lot of backlash about that, but I actually agreed with her, because when your marriage is solid, you're showing your kids a great example of what that's supposed to look like in their home. That doesn't mean you neglect them or don't do anything for them, but you're showing them this is the way mommy and daddy are supposed to handle things, and it's the proper order.
Wow. Well, you know, when you say that, a lot of times women, when they do get those kids, they tend to be like a mommy to their spouse. How can they just make sure I'm not talking to him like he's a little kid? I am keeping those in their prospective places.
Yep, that's why I said that there is sometimes a misplaced of roles. So your role as a spouse is very different than your role as a mother or a father. So I would encourage that spouse to check that person and say, hold on. You're talking to me like our 3-year-old right now. We can't do that. And so, but if you don't bring attention to something, oftentimes people are not aware that they're even doing it.
That's so true. Wow. Well, look, I definitely have been enjoying myself with you, and I want people to know more information, especially they need some counseling, right? But prior to marriage, right? Can you let them know?
Absolutely. So again, my name is Keandra Jackson. I have a private practice in the Los Angeles area. You can find me on all things social media at Keandra Jackson, or you can visit my website, which is kwcouplestherapy.com.
And before you leave, you know, we got to have some marriage therapy right now.
Go ahead, let's do it.
What advice would you say to them people out there doing Valentine's, those marriage couples?
I would say if you're out there in a relationship trying to love on each other, don't focus on the superficial stuff. Don't focus on the roses and having a good day. I want you to make sure that you connect with your partner emotionally. Check in with them. Say, hey, boo, it's Valentine's Day. How is our relationship really going? And then move from there.
Wow. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my God. That just blessed my soul. You know, I may think of marriage a little differently now.
Yes, absolutely. You see?
Okay.